Well, the recording got ruined, but yeah, no fucking space. I had to delete some videos and the recording itself got ruined. So now we're gonna just continue off where I left off from the recording's ending, which we are currently doing pretty well. Up 4R, and we're just gonna finish up this last week. That's basically what it is. Recording got cut off because I ran out of storage space, but I'll just do the rest of this week. Nonetheless, very nice. What time frame is this? We can take notice that there is no real low of day getting formed here. I will say that that's going to be considered. My draw on liquidity is just previous day's high, and that's it. Literally, I don't have anything past it. Um, as for low of day, yes, there's SMT like that, and we are expanding away from it. But the asset setting the SMT, which is going to be considered YM, is not really reversing price here. So if YM is not going to reverse price, then there is actually YM is kind of low key reversing price here. So with that being said, there is a low day. There is this SMT is dislocated some shit like this. Yeah, like that, and there is this SMT like this, and then now we are expanding away. We have previous day's high, which just gets impacted there. With this previous day's high getting impacted, I want to see if we're gonna go and react to this high, and my eyes is purely focused on NQ. So if NQ does not react to this high as it is showing, then we can trade YM to go and meet up with this high as we do impact this 15-minute gap, and we can see that NQ is still pushing through these highs. With this impact of that 15-minute gap there, this is also showing me now I would like to see a continuation signature rather than just jumping on, because NQ has just tapped into this. So if NQ does not reverse the way it is, and we see that YM is flipping strengths to being more bullish, we can trade this up to go and break that same high that is located above and break the SMT that is located above, right? As that lagging asset logic. That's basically all it is. Cool. And that's just your accumulation, range low, reversal, continuation signature. Obviously, if I had more confidence in it, I would have entered here off of that 930 driver, off of that 15-minute gap respect, and then the push up. But V-shape reversal, accumulation, manipulation, V-shape, and then you do have that continuation signature. I didn't enter like that because NQ did just react off of this. But once you see NQ reacting to this gap here and showing that failure to manipulate, we can trade that lagging asset to the exact same high to go and break the SMT that was put in, which is all of those low resistance liquidity highs, going from range low back up to range high. And that's basically all that was, right? Cool. How do you go next? Go to next day's open. All right, so taking a look here on the daily time frame, what can I take notice of? Price is extremely bullish right now. Multiple days of expansion to the upside. We do run into this high here, which is a relevant level. Now I am anticipating for us to trade external to internal, where previous day's low is going to be considered my draw on liquidity. The high a day is formed, and we do expand. I wouldn't call it so much of an expansion, but I can take notice that London does have this high that's located here, and we are expanding away from it. This gap is now it's providing a source of PD array in a way, right? And it is holding price down to the downside. We got equal lows, expansion met with expansion, met with accumulation, manipulation, and then the expansion back downwards. We do have SMT in between the 6 a.m.'s high like this, and that is telling me that we can possibly go down lower as the asset setting the SMT is actually reversing price. There isn't really too much going on here on YM, as it is just within that 4-hour range there. But with this all being said, we are trading a pretty obvious model right here on NQ. The high of the 6 a.m. candle is formed with SMT as we do manipulate, and the asset setting the manipulation. I'm relating it more now with my correlated market is going to be considered ES, as ES is more correlated like together with with NQ right now, rather than YM is just consolidating. So with this being said, do I have gaps here? We do have a 30-minute model already in full effect. I'm looking for gaps that I can utilize for us to frame the continuation lower. So it hurts, bro. I genuinely, unless we're gonna it's just hard because I don't have a 15-minute swing here, right? I mean, obviously showing me that this could be considered your high, but then again, it's like I would much rather let that pass so I can get a 15-minute swing. So I'm looking for a 15-minute swing in order to trade away from either SMT swing or like this, right? So we have that sweep. Here's your 15-minute swing formation. That's also going into 10 a.m. Now with that swing formation like this, and you have that V-shape reversal, if I was to get this 3-minute OB, then I would be able to, well, that's not existent. So now we are making our way back up higher. Obviously, the current draw is these highs. I cannot trade away from these lows. So it's impossible to trade away from these lows. So I need to go and trade to it. So I'm just waiting for those 15-minute models here in order to get us on side with this. We need to see the 15-minute. Okay, so well, my draw is incorrect, and we are just ripping up higher. With the rip up higher now, we can take notice that this high gets impacted on NQ, on YM, or on ES. So now I would just wait for a strength switch to trade that lagging asset to the exact same highs, as we do have that retracement here. Not gonna take this because it's at the highest point of the day, but because it's we just don't have a 15-minute swing, so waiting to see if I can get a 15-minute swing here. Or just full reversal. Well, yeah, there's nothing there for us, right? And this would be already like 1300, and I wouldn't get anything. So taking a look here, daily time frame. Going from that external range, displacement down lower, looking like we do want to go down to these lows located below us. We do have the push here. Daily profile, not really profiling. I'm not going to front there. Not really much going on. YM is decoupled at the current standpoint of where it's at. YM is extremely bullish, and the rest of the assets are not. So with that all being said, we do have a range high getting impacted here on YM. So there is reasonings for YM to go down lower, going from range high down to range low. The lower day is not really forming anything. We're decoupled on YM, and we're not moving in sync. So I'm looking at this more so of a trying to trade down lower to this next draw on liquidity, because we are failing to manipulate the relevant lows that is located here. So we are going from external range, expansion, 4-hour, high a day. Fuck. Let's see if we get a further expansion lower, because this is your relevant level. This high a day is chopped, though. I'm not going to front there. But we have to respect the fact that we are not going there, right? 15-minute C2, looking for a 15-minute C3, expansion lower. 3-minute CISD. Where did the 15-minute close? Here. Yeah, as that 3-minute CISD, accumulation manipulation, looking for the distribution, like that. Places order, save. Damn, no top in. Well, see if I can get a continuation here. I don't like to trade on the retracements, not really my style. So I'm just gonna wait for a new 15-minute model here. This would be a 15-minute model. And now this is pressing us downwards. Very aggressive V shape as well. 3-minute CISD. Strength is putting in its asset. The asset setting the manipulation is also reversing price. This becomes my entry. Oh, don't tell me I gotta limit fill this fucker, dude. I hate limit fills. I do. Tap me in on the limit fill. Do we get it? And then stops now goes to break even, as this is the lowest point of the day. Do we get it? Honestly, nothing is wrong. Or, wow. I was gonna say nothing is wrong with just taking a fucking 1.8. But there's your model going from this range high down to this range low. Failure to manipulate this low, accumulation, press through it, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. And then we do have this run back up higher. I do not trade on retracements. I trade on continuations. SMT that's located in between these highs like this. And then we do have the CISD that's showing me downwards motion. With the CISD showing me downwards motion here and here, this is when I can take notice of what with that CISD happening on the asset, setting the manipulation, also reversing price, and that 15-minute closure, which is down here. You can go and enter literally right on the 15-minute closure, which is right there. I entered a little bit more higher. Why? Because it didn't make sense in terms of risk to reward. So I just went and pulled it in just a little bit, which isn't that much. Get tapped in. Once we get tapped in, we get the expansion lower. Stops or break even at the lowest point of the day, and you're trading away from a 15-minute model, which is this 15-minute C2, and then now you're trading that 15-minute C3, a pull back into the midpoint of this previous 15-minute candle within those 3-minute gaps that gets formed away from the manipulation is gaps you want to see hold price down to the downside, and that's why I jumped in on the trade, right? So cool. Moving on to the next. So taking a look here, this is going to be considered Friday. With this being a Friday, I am taking notice that we do expand lower into the draw on liquidity, which is those range lows, and we bounce back upwards. With this being said, I'm honestly not anticipating too much from this Friday. I'm more anticipating a bullish move here. Why? Because market, I mean, if I'm going to actually trade bullish, I might want to trade bullish here on YM, as YM is a whole lot more bullish here than NQ. It's just low of week has been set, high of week has been set on Tuesday. For Thursday has set the low off of this relevant level. We are not continuing it, looking more so like a push back up, external, internal here, and we would like to trade back higher, but realistically only higher up to here. That's literally all I got. And away from that, that's fucking it, dude. Honestly, this is going to be an accumulation right off of this jump. Yeah, literally an accumulation type profile. Yeah, this is an accumulation. I'm not really sure what else to do unless we go and trade back down lower to the current low of day. Then I can't go and anticipate too much from it, right? Maybe I can trade YM higher, as YM does want to go up higher. There is a news candle there, so something that I am taking in consideration here. Looking to see if this 15-minute gap is going to hold price up to the upside. What is going to be considered proof that the 15 is holding is 15-minute CISDs or C2s that get formulated from there. So you got a daily opening low profile, expansion up, clear draw on liquidity, 3-minute OB. Nah, I'm not longing at the highest point of the day. That's just not who I am. Let's see if we get a new 15-minute model here. There's your 15-minute C2. And then now we are back up at the highest point of the day. So there's really nothing for me. And I'm just going to wait. So extremely bullish. Here would be like a new 15-minute model that's located here, where you can trade that 15-minute C2 into that expansion to the obvious draws on liquidity. That would be considered your entry there for your AMD to continue pressing up higher. I just don't trade this high in the range, and I also don't trade at the highest points of days. And then that would be your 2R to the obvious draw on liquidity. I just don't trade up that high in the range and that this close or this fucking late in the day as well at 11:45. Not entirely that's not my style, so to say, right? Those are two little things that I do have in place for myself is don't trade at the highest point or lowest point of days, and do not aim for super external targets like that. And also just fucking, it's just for me, bro. I'm not saying this to go and tell anybody don't do that, but it's just literally my shit. But yeah, away from that. Okay, so October 31st, I believe this is a holiday. If it is Halloween, yeah, this may be considered Halloween. I don't know if it's October 31st. Is Halloween October 31st? Because if not, that's my draw on liquidity. So let's see if we have a 15-minute model that's going to be formed here for us to go up being bullish. Here's your 15-minute C2 telling me to be bullish here. YM has that first level CISD, looking for the second level CISD here. Okay. Ugh, I don't like putting my stops at all of that. So I would wait for a new continuation OB, something like this, as that is a lot more cleaner. And then you could trade this as your 11:30, 15-minute push. And that would be your trade up to here to the daily opening price, right? And that's where you would trade it to, and you get stopped out there. Or honestly, you might have got stopped out at break even because that's your break even point, right? Yeah, that's basically that. I just wouldn't trade this day in general because it's Halloween, so there's nothing for me here, right? I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna take a break. Kind of a bummer is the last session did get cut off and we ran out of memory, but nonetheless, let's go and take a look here at the statistics. So the first session we did very well. The first session, actually, the last session, we did actually shitty, and we came out with -1R. The next one over, this is just the probabilities playing out, right? Caught back up with ourselves, and now we're up at 8R on the month, which is very good. And or selection of trades is getting a lot better. Win rate is going up slightly, as that's kind of what I'm trying to aim for, is selecting better trades, higher quality trades, waiting for the correct ones to go and participate in. And really, it's just overnight expansion, previous day expansion. And just my main goals of right now is just to determine between, like, I want to be able to see the consolidation days versus the expansion days easier. So these are just, we're doing really well right now. Let's just leave it at that. And yeah, that's cool from there, right? I'm gonna log off though, and I will catch you guys in the next session. Peace.